Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me. Down the inside, absolutely impossible scene.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We'll go bust. We got our elbows out.
Ronnar takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to PSGL PCF2. My name is Max Ring. I'll be stepping in tonight for Corey. You may have seen me on the likes of F3 at the start of this season, F4 last season, and of course, I'm still joined by the wonderful Omi, who I feel like never misses one of these races. Omi, how are you, my good friend, on this Thursday evening?
Hello Max, hello everyone. Doing very well indeed, and great to be here, and great to have you as well alongside me, Max. And yeah, it's been over a year since we've worked together, well over a year as well, so great to be back. What is this, PCF 5 from season 35? Wow, it's been a while.
It certainly has. I mean, yeah, all the way back on that PCF 5 season. I think that was on F1 23, wasn't it? The end
Yeah,
of
it
F1
was.
23. So it has been quite some time. I mean, have been in the booth together, but the drivers have just loaded into qualifying, so we'll quickly run you through your drivers' standings, where we see at the top of the field is Luca Rapassa, coming off a race win and a 5th place in both Australia and Belgium. He is on 22 points, closely followed low by the chasing herd of drivers of Tony Hitala, who is 5 points back. Then it's Leo Lund, a further 6, followed by Sergio Sabrina in 4th, Prigibel in 5th, Liam Stevens 6th, Zorzo in 7th, Adams 8th, 9th is Nelson Alves, and then Conrad Bohm rounding out your top 10. Plenty more scorers as well, going all the way down to Ryan Modler in 16th. So a very close championship battle at the moment here, Omi, as we now head trackside to the drivers. But it's shaping up to be quite an entertaining season.
It really, really is. 2 rounds done, and we now arrive at round number 3 of our campaign here at COTA, and it should hopefully be very, very exciting from start to finish as well. As you mentioned, we have a great championship as of yet. Luca Rapassa with a 1st, with a 5th to start the season. We've had Tony Hitala take 2 4th places, but not a podium. He finds himself in that 2nd place. And Leo Lund missed the first race completely, and then went on to win a round later and finds himself on 16 points, 3rd in the points battle. So no one with a perfect start to their season. So still a lot of work to do, and this one is looking close, and hopefully it'll remain close across our entire season.
Yes, hopefully it does indeed, as we actually have one of the drivers in that current championship picture. Of course, early on in the season, it's hard to tell who's going to be where come that final round. But it's Tony Hitala as he now makes his way up into turn 1, braking at down to 3rd gear, sorry, braking at the black box on the right-hand side. Now makes his way through turns 2 and then into the S section, of course, inspired by Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel at Silverstone as he heads through that first sector split at 24.4 as the benchmark first sector in this session. As of course out of turn 9 we go. 10, this little kink left, which just leads you down onto the straight, heading into the braking zone of 11. About 75 meters, you want to hit the brakes once more over that inside apex curb, then run the car all the way out wide for this now undulating and agonizingly long run before you hit the brakes again into turn 12. Use up a majority of your battery now as you head down this straight, and then you hit the brakes just before the 100 meter board. Get it down to 3rd over that inside apex curb, take as much as you can before you head up in 13. Once again, keep it in third gear. Maybe a little short shift here. No, Hitala elects to keep it in third and just build up those revs as he then hits onto the brakes for turn 15. This is now the triple right-hander, of course, inspired by the triple right-hander at Turkey. Then make your way into the final two corners. At the black box, get it braking and turned in, down to fifth gear, before once again, just as you pass that black box on the right-hand side, down to third. Try not to lose the rear of the car on traction. Easy to do so. And the benchmark from Hitala, a 1:30.0. That is the benchmark for everybody to beat. And Ryan Modler puts himself into second place, 7 tenths shy.
Yep. So, some good lap times coming in so far. It is Hitala, then Dowds, and then Modler. The drivers who have been able to set a time. Others still pushing out on their way around this Kota circuit. We join one of them right now. Fanzelter, one of our reserve drivers this season, making his way around the final turn. And just going behind his teammate for today, Cameron Dowds, that is P3. Immediately displaced by the driver who was on the podium at Spa a week ago, Sergio Sabrino. And then it's Tulki who moves up to P4. So, some interesting lap times coming in. But Hitala trying to make it 2 poles in a row, and Alves looking to try and get himself as well to a pole position, and a pole position which would be his first in PCF2.
Yes, it certainly will be. So we'll go back on board with Nelson Alves as he makes his way now into the final corner. What's this going to be for the Williams driver? DRS Open, and it is to the top of the times. First driver into those 29s, but Luca Rapassa is on his way just behind in the championship leader. Where does he go? He goes third fastest, and by just under a 10th and 300ths. Nelson Alves takes that provisional pole at the moment, but we still have 3 drivers keen to make their mark. That's Campbell Adams, Keaton Lutz, and Tom Roberts, as I think it is going to be Keaton Lutz to be the first of these drivers around on the circuit, as he's now making his way through the triple right-hander. Actually, no, it was Campbell Adams, but he invalidated his lap time. So here comes Lutz. What can he do? He's closely followed by Tom Roberts. So for the Haas driver, DRS Open up to the line. Where's this place him? Only 12th fastest. Now all eyes turn to Tom Roberts.
Absolutely. Round the final corner we go, and it is going to be a bit of a disappointing lap. No lap to 18th position, so only a position gain there for Roberts, who also, of course, is in his return back to PCF2. He was able to race last time out and found himself finishing in 11th, so just outside the points. That'll be the aim around this venue here today. 20 turns in total around this Kota circuit, as fighting away with the car once, then twice, and still pointing in the right direction without getting it into the barrier as well. Having a bit of fun as he completes his lap, but he definitely has a lot to do if he wants to go and get towards the lap times of drivers like Alves, of drivers like Hitala.
Yeah, he certainly does. Let's just look at that gap, especially between the likes of Hitala all the way down to Pasquale Ranieri in 7th place. Look at that, just over half a tenth of a second separating second from 7th. It is oh so close at the pointy end of the field. Any marginal improvement can find you either a place or a couple of places. Now we wait for the drivers to come out onto the circuit once more to get their next laps underway. Next laps, especially for Campbell Adams, who's not set a lap time just yet, absolutely crucial, because you don't want to be without a lap, do you, here, Omi, on that final run, because you're kind of, in a sense, in a bit of an unknown in that sense, and you tend to either underdrive the car ever so slightly, you over push it just that tiny bit more, and the mistakes start to creep in because the pressure is on your shoulders.
And what either of those two things do is basically put you at the back of a PCF2 grid, because the margins are so close, as Max just showed you a second ago. They are such fine margins. So I was talking with drivers, especially after the season opening round, and Oscar Furuheim, who isn't with us, he's moved over from PlayStation to PC and over to this F2. He is the reigning PSF1 champion as well. He was mentioning about the struggle that if you make one single mistake, that is basically a qualifying of disappointment. You are at the back and you are finding yourself with a lot of work to do in the race, and we are in a game where it is hard to overtake. Now around this circuit, hopefully it should be a little bit more easier as well, so hopefully Kota will allow us to have some great racing and side-by-side action. Last season, actually, it was very much a season of races that were heavily decided when it came to strategy or at the race start, and of course properly when it came to qualifying. But this race actually gave us a proper fight for the win that went into the final few corners, this part of the circuit that you're seeing Hietala go through now as he prepares to build up to a push lap.
That is, I feel like Kota is one of those circuits where you do tend to get those races where it does boil down to those final few laps. It's a circuit where you can easily make those overtakes, and strategy as well is key. And you can, even if you box on the same lap, all it takes is you to be a bit more aggressive on those tyres, and you see yourself, unfortunately, out on some critical speed near the end, and somebody else can just swoop underneath you and keep that move. As we see here, Tala in that first sector up by 100th of a second. We'll need to do more of that, but it was apparently purple as well through that first sector. So this is exactly how he would want to have started the lap, as he now hits the brakes into turn 11, down to third gear. This shaping up to be a strong lap at the moment, potentially a bit hesitant out of 11, but so far for Hietala, so good.
Looking good for the driver with the most pole positions on this grid as well. 3 to his name, and Leo Lund has 2. The rest of them, in terms of Boehm, Diego Zorzo, Sergio Sabrino, Laurie Tulke, and also Gregory, all have 1 to their name in this field. So Hietala, a master when it comes to one lap pace compared to all of the drivers that are around him in this field. He knows how to do this. He has been in this position so many times before. Pole position in the season opening round of last season, the final round of last season, the previous round of this season, and now as he comes round the final corner, is it going to be back to the top? It will for Tony Hietala. 7 minutes to go and a new lap time for the rest of the drivers to chase, a 1 minute 29.879.
An extremely strong lap there from Tony Hietala, who of course will go on board a little bit later on with Nelson Alves to see how he's doing on his lap. Van Selter down by about 1/10 of a second, so for Van Selter here that could be his lap pretty much over and done with, unless he has a strong final couple of corners. We also saw there on Hietala's lap he had to stick to the inside entering the triple right-hander, potentially scrubbing off some speed, and that might, in that final run of the lap, just pay dividends to him holding on to this pole. Van Selter to the line, just wasn't able to find any lap time to improve. Alves, he's up by 1/2 through that middle sector, so we'll stay on board of the man currently lying second place, but yet to do his second run. This so far shaping up to be good enough for that provisional pole position. Joe Murphy can only stay 6th fastest, but that's Sabrino moving himself up into third. We still have Ranieri, who now goes up into that third place spot. He's now into those 29s too. As we see Alves to the line. Will this be enough to displace Hietala? Yes, it is! 700s found into the 8th freeze. And that is exactly what he would have wanted, but still oh so close margins at the front as drivers still making their way to the line as Preskin goes up to 5th.
Yeah, improvement coming in for him as well. Adams in 2nd position. Ranieri over the line as well a second ago. P5. Here is Gregory making his way through now the final corner on this circuit. Let's see whether there's an improvement coming his way from 16th to 9th for the McLaren driver as well. As into the pit lane comes Luca Rapata, your championship leader, of course. But Alves definitely has taken a step forward. We see different drivers progress throughout a game cycle. Qualifying so far this season, it has been something that he has done so well. A 2nd, a 4th, and as it stands provisionally, a first ever pole in PCF2 for a driver who has made 39 starts. So today is his 40th start in this PCF2 tier. For a driver to have so many starts and also have 2 race victories to his name, to have 7 podiums, but to never have a pole, you can tell that qualifying overall has been a little bit of a struggle where he's not always able to extract the max. Today, and this season he has taken a step forward, and today he has a chance to take it completely to the bonus point that is available for pole position.
Yeah, it certainly does as well. Of course, that bonus point can be so crucial come the end of the season if you are in that championship picture, because you could win this title by that singular point, and especially with margins like this, always go down to the wire. Just look at that field spread. The top, all 20 cars separated by 9 tenths, but look at that, the top 14 separated by just under 3. That is how close these margins really are. And if you are, of course, Campbell, Adams, Alves and Hitala, you are separated by only 9,000 of a second. That just shows that this battle for pole is going to be fierce. Just now in that little bit of the lull of the session, aren't we, Omi? Everybody just preparing, gearing up for their final attempts at qualifying. And this certainly will be quite a battle for pole position.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, we are in this lull period as we await for the drivers to make their way out onto the circuit when the circuit is at its best, right at the end of the session. And we can already see bottom of screen some activity taking place as cars get ready to leave. So as we go on to our art laps, it's a perfect opportunity to let us know in the live chat in who you think is going to be taking pole position. We've got a great field as it stands for a race, one that is mixed up, one that looks like could definitely bring out some surprises as well when it comes to the race. So it is going to be interesting. I'd like to quickly mention some of the F3 drivers. Now, they performed very well as they progressed into F2 in Australia, had a bit more of a trickier Spa. Now they come into this circuit with some great results as well in F3. Gregory was the winner here in F3 last season. Adams was in second and Isaac Leet was third and Roberts was fourth. So that is 4 drivers from this field. 4 of our promotions up from F3 to F2 who were the top 4 in F3 last season around this venue. So you've got some drivers who know how to master this, and it's not a surprise to see drivers like Adams back at the front end once again and contending for a pole position.
Yeah, we certainly do. Of course, those drivers making those step-ups, they're looking to really prove themselves and be onto the scene and be like, I am here to stay. I'm not just going to be pushed and bullied around. That is what the likes of Adams have done so far, especially over the course of this qualifying session. So Gregory Pujibel as well, currently sitting in 9th place in front of his teammate Leo Lund by 2 places. But we now turn our attention to the Williams man of Isaac Leet, who gets us underway here for the final runs of qualifying. This is what it all has boiled down to, where all those laps, those past 2 laps, you've set yourself up as best as you possibly can. The pressure is now well and truly on. No redos, no other attempts. This is where the pressure and those key points of the season lie. Isaac Leet gets us underway here for the final run to qualifying.
Win it or bin it stuff, we climb up to turn number 1, and you are getting ready to go through some quick and challenging corners as well. The S section that is coming up, we're about to turn left and right. You can really maximize time at this part of the circuit. How brave do you go? How much do you throw the car in, trying to find every single thousandth of a second, because that is what these qualifying sessions come up to, and it is just over 800ths of a second, 85 thousandths to be precise, is what Isaac Leet is up by in that first sector. Now through the second sector, which of course is this back straight that we are heading to, and then we'll have a third sector to wrap up the lap with some tight and twisty fast corners as well, as Isaac Leet tries to improve to the top 10.
He certainly does indeed, as we now look into that turn 12 braking zone. Is he up by any more in this middle sector? He seemed to have a very strong start to this lap. His track evolution potentially kicking in slightly. And look at that through the middle sector. He's up by 1.3 tenths of a second as he now hits the brakes once more. Down into turn 15. Slowly bringing that power back up. Uses all the circuit he possibly can. Keeps it tight to that right-hand side. Currently, this lap is tracking to at least get him up into that top 7. So as he then hits the brakes, brakes into the penultimate corner. Heavy braking so for the final corner. Don't lock the rears here, Isaac. That'll be awful for you. A little bit of a wobble up to the line. He goes ninth fastest. Lost a little bit of time at the end here. Here comes Joe Murphy to the line. He goes up into that top 4. Next is going to be Liam Stevens, who goes up to 6th place. We have now times coming in thick and fast. It's Ranieri next on to the cards. No, it's not. It's going to be his teammate. It's Nelson Alves. Goes even quicker. He's into the low point 8 as Modler invalidates his lap time. Roberts has retired. And for Nelson Alves, he's got one hand on this one at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, Tyler's invalidated. He's invalidated at the end, so he won't be able to take it away then, as he'll come over the line and will still be in 3rd position. Lutt is making his way through, not finding the improvement that he would have wanted through that second part of the lap. In the final part of the lap, it is still going to be 6th. He couldn't find the time by over a 10th and a half. Here is Gregory. He's invalidated, so he'll be best 13th, and we are currently seeing the final few contenders. Here's Luca Rapassa. He's also invalidated his lap time. Presakhan's over the line. He finds himself in that 11th position, and Ranieri finds himself in 8th. So that's a qualifying in the top 10 for him. Adams is still in 2nd, so he couldn't find the time. Well, it was the top 2 who were battling for their first pole in PCF2, and it turns out on the 40th race start, Alves has done it. He's taken a first pole at this level.
He certainly has, and we mentioned it just before he set that first flying lap that he could be gunning for pole position. Someone like him who's not set a pole so far this season could be in the midst of finally taking it on his 40th start. The big 4-0 is finally done that feat. He starts from pole from Cameron Adams on the front row alongside him. It's Hitala, Dowds, Murphy, Lutt, Stevens, Ranieri, Sabrino and Lund rounding out your top 10. And it's Preskin, Leek, Prajibal, Rapassa, Tulki, Imtiaz, Bohm, Roberts, Van Seltzer, and unfortunately Ryan Modler a little bit off the pace, rounding out your field for this evening. But what a qualifying that was here, Omi. And we should be in for what a classic of a race. And for some of these drivers, they potentially made those mistakes on the final laps, especially here Tala. His lap was good enough for pole, but that slight invalidation has cost him dearly.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we mentioned it is his 40th start for Alves. He also becomes the 60th different driver to take a PCF2 pole. We've got to 60 in total. If we get a new driver, I'll keep you up to date, of course, with it. If we get a new driver to be on the podium today, who hasn't been on it before, they'll become the 90th different driver to stand on a PCF2 podium. So we've already hit one of those numbers across the 3. We could be about to do another if a driver like Campbell Adams steps forward and is able to score a podium by the end of tonight's race.
Yeah, we certainly could. So plenty of those milestones here in F2 that could be achieved tonight. Quickly head to the track map. Show you guys, of course, the track we are racing at this evening. As we head over to your pre-race info. 5.513 kilometers, 3.429 miles and 20 corners make up this Circuit of America's circuit. It is one of probably the more recent greats here. I mean, plenty of drivers like Kota. It's a fun challenge, even though it got added to the calendar in 2012, which was, well, 13 years ago now. It certainly is a track where everybody feels like it should be a staple on the calendar, and everybody wants to win.
Yeah, it is one of the greats. It's one of the greats for racing, so I'm so happy we are here and we're about to get going, Max.
Yes, we are. We have 5 red lights. It's Alves and Campbell Adams on the front row of the grid. And we're on the way here in Texas. It's a great start from the Williams driver, but Adams could potentially still draw alongside. No, he cannot. He's under pressure from Tony Hitala as they make their way up the hill into turn 1. And the Haas driver might have just capitalised as we see drivers all across the road. In the background, Hitala takes that second place away, and Murphy is now able to make his way up into 3rd place too. A disastrous start for the Australian as he drops down to 4th place. There's contact between Cameron Dowds and Keaton Lutz, and Lutz is sent spinning off the road. And unfortunately for him, drops to the back of the field. So for Keelan Lott, a disastrous start, and potentially the same here for Liam Stevens and Florian Van Selt. So they're both off the road. Roberts has retired. He's also been caught up in that incident. Drama in the opening stages of this opening lap. But at the front of the field, it's still Nelson Alves who leads us away. But instead of it being Cameron Adams, it is Tony Hitana.
Absolutely, he's moved up to second place. Disappointment for Stevens as we made our way by as well. The driver P6 in the points battle. Ranielli's getting through. He's moving up to P5. He's just got ahead of Cameron Dowd. We jump on board with the Ferrari, the Italian driver pushing Campbell Adams around this configuration of circuit. Does he try and go for an inside line attempted move? No, he doesn't. Further back, that will be the case because Rapasa, our championship leader, is trying to go on the attack up against Sergio Sabrino. The Spanish driver just stays ahead as we throw it down to turn number 19 and 20.
Yeah, they certainly are. As Rapasa trying to climb his way back up through the order after a disappointing qualifying, unfortunately for Tom Roberts. His second race of the season in his return has not started off well at all. Let's bring up the tyres that everybody is on this evening as Lund's made a move here on to Cameron Dowd. He moves up into 6th place, so it's mediums for those front runners. Van Selter, unfortunately, has retired too. He's got a 10-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane. So the top 6 all on the mediums, and you've got Dowd, Sabrina, Rapasa, Prajibul, Tulki, Bohm, Leitz, Imtiaz and Stevens all on the hards, with Modeler, Lutz and Preskin all on those medium tyre compounds as well. This is where that strategy will now come into play between that front running pack and the mid pack here, Omi. And this could be quite a spicy end to things as everybody will now try to dial into their rhythm. Get the racing action back underway again.
Yeah, so the tyres tell a big story of why we saw Cameron Dowd dropping and fading a couple of positions as well as to where he was able to get himself after turn number 1. We had this last season. We had a split in terms of tyres of mediums and hards, so it is happening once again. This time around in season 41, and there you can see in the background Pressakan trying to also find his way by. Dowd, of course, not fighting it at this phase of the race. He knows he's on a different strategy. Modler is on those mediums, and he needs to go on the attack. He needs to try and make some moves, and he's just done one of those. He's been able to get past Conrad Bohm, who drops down to 14th position, full-time driver last season, reserved this season, but still with the same goal, and that is to get a good result by the end of tonight's action.
Yes, that certainly is the goal here for Ryan Modeler after a very disappointing qualifying, as you mentioned, Omi, all the way down at the back, invalidating when it was proved critical. Now he's trying to make his way back up through the field. Same with Keelan Lutz after that contact with, I think it was Cameron Dowd at the start of this race. He's now on a redemption charge. He was able to hang on to the back of the queue, luckily, but his tyres would not have liked that spin at all. Now got to carve his way up at least into those points-paying positions by the time those pit stops do start rolling around. I'm expecting drivers to be into the pit lane probably around about lap 8 to 10 from those medium compounded tyres. Everybody else on those hards expecting probably around about 14 15. So as we then open up the DRS for the second time in this race, Hitala still sitting quite nicely behind Alves. Of course, these drivers at the front of the field, they're not going to go for any moves quite early on, are they, Omi? Because they're just focusing on saving their battery, saving those tyres, and then pushing on a little bit later in the stint where they've got a bit more to lose when it comes to track position. But currently at the moment, everybody happy where they are.
That is exactly how this race is running, and as you mentioned, they're not going to attack each other. They're not going to lose time together and get themselves into some unnecessary contact. That will wait until after the pit stop phase, until after we prepare for the final stages, like we saw last season, where they all went fighting, and we did get to contact. We did see some drama in our race in season 40. So a lot of the drivers were in that. A lot of the drivers would have seen how it was a 2-car battle, and then it expanded into a long train in the battle for the win. So there is definitely risk versus reward to be played out across tonight. But you definitely don't want to be at the risk part in the first phase. So they're going to get through this stint, see where they find themselves. They'll of course be thinking about what to do with the strategy, when to come in, when to try and jump your rivals and make your life as much easier as possible in those final laps of the race.
Yeah, of course, you do not want to be making too many risky moves at this opening stage. This is all just about dialing in, making sure you are up to speed, got that rhythm, and then once you get to those final couple of laps, that's where you start to really see these drivers get those elbows out because they know that win is on the line. Of course, you can't win things in the opening lap. Seems like you can in real life F1 at the moment. The amount of people who lead into turn 1, of course, taking that race victory. But here in PSGL, it's a completely different story where all these drivers are so closely contested that, like a Ryan Modler who started at the back, it's not unheard of that you can make your way up through the field to at least get a podium.
Yep, both drivers who started on pole position have not been able to convert into victory so far this season. So far it has been someone outside of that pole spot, and I think that tells you about how it is all to play for. And to be fair, have to say, across our races so far, the pole sitters have had quite well control over the first stint of the race. So it's all gone on during that pit stop phase or straight after until the checkered flag. There has been things going on, and there has been switches as well in terms of track positions, and you've had other drivers on different strategies come and play a factor in terms of how the race goes, and that could definitely happen here tonight. In this race, we're looking currently at Pressakan, who is the F3 champion of season 39. Had to actually go on and do another season in PCF3 at the start of this game cycle. Has finally got the promotion up to F2 and is hoping to try and, well, secure some good results and get some podiums I'm sure you'll be hoping for, and possibly even a trip to the top step at some point across this season.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprising if he does look for that, as actually his teammate Luca Rapace is going for a move here on Sergio Sabrino. Mercedes versus Red Bull as we now head through the triple right-hander. Surely Sabrino is going to be a hold on to this one because he's on that better inside line. He does, but Rapace fights it back into the penultimate corner, but just has to get out of things. He cannot risk going for a move there and seeing himself spin around. And brilliantly defended there from Sergio Sabrino, gave ample space. And I think we're starting to see, especially these hard runners, Wolf Dowd, Sabrino and Rapace, that pendulum has now swung into their favour. Surely be seeing these guys now make their way further up the field. They'll have the quicker tyres, the grippier tyres. They should be able to at least gain a few places in this race. But yes, strategy is oh so crucial, especially now on F1 25. A one-lap undercut could see yourself come out 2 seconds clear, but come the end of the race, you could be really within the jaws of your opponent. So it's all about when you time your pit stops, what lap you come in, because tyre wear is such a huge factor on this title.
It really, really is, and it means that there is a lot to manage. I'm sure the drivers will be working with their engineers. They would have learnt a lot when it came to practice as well in terms of what to do and what's the best approach heading into tonight's race. We see the field currently plunged down into the 12th turn of the circuit, a turn which has delivered plenty of drama and plenty of racing in the past for us here, especially in F2. This, of course, the location where we had that crazy title fight in season 36, where it went down all the way till the final few corners for the championship. So you could tell how close that was. It was Lenny Pepinto who came out on top, winning it by only 3 points that season as well. So it was really a great finale in season 36, and I'm hoping later this season in Abu Dhabi, that'll be round number 11 on the 22nd of January, that we can experience something of the same description as well. And Max, if I remember correctly, you've also been able to cover a dramatic finale at the end of F1 24 as well. You had a last lap pass, didn't you? Last corner pass, yes, even, at Abu Dhabi for the championship in F4.
Yeah, that was a dramatic title fight. I think 6 drivers went into that one, covered by about 8 points. That's how close that field spread was. Just shows that even stuff like this, if you have a poor result or if you're consistent and someone who's constantly up there, potentially like a Tony Hitala, where you're constantly scoring some good points, see yourself win the title and take it quite comfortably. But yeah, that was a last lap move from one of the drivers in this field, Tom Roberts. And of course, he got penalised, unfortunately. Damien Courier, who didn't win a race all season, up taking that title in F4. It just shows how consistency is key in championship battles. And if you're someone like Luca Rapassa, who's current championship leader, but only by 5 points, if you have a race where it's only a point picked up, or if you're not scoring into that top 5, see yourself, unfortunately, have that title slip out of your grasp in those dying embers of a season. But still plenty of way to go. 20 laps in this Grand Prix remaining as Keaton Luck comes into pit lane, and while doing so, actually picks up a 3-second time penalty.
He does indeed. Gets a 3-second time penalty. Now that one will be added after the race, so if there is any evidence, if there is any proof he can provide to get that one removed, then, well, it could definitely be removed from his time at the end of the race, so he could actually finish where he actually finishes in the provisional classification. So we'll have to wait on stewarding for that, depending on what actually went on in that scenario. But yes, luckily it's one of those which will be served at the end of the race, no matter whether he pits. It doesn't get served in a pit stop, that type of penalty. Now, Cameron Dowds is getting closer and closer. We're getting the hards now, beginning to attack the drivers who are on that medium compound of tyre. And Dowds getting super close to the back, but not being able to find a way through at the moment. But I can imagine he will want to try and do so as soon as possible, and well, put some cards even between himself and the drivers who are on the other, who are on the same strategy behind him. And there we go. That's a look from Dowds, but he can't get there. He has to stay in behind.
Yeah, he certainly does, and this is a crucial moment for these hard runners because they need to make their way up through the field. They can't be bogged down too much by these drivers on those worn mediums. You can see the flurry of cars into pit lane. I think that's the whole top 6 into the pit lane. No, top 7, sorry, all into the pits. So Nelson Alves will lead us into pit lane. Of course, surely all these guys will be on the hard compounder tyres. This does leave, of course, Cameron Dowd slightly vulnerable. Quickly see Alves' pit stop. He's got it in and out quite nicely, so he's going to stay in the net lead of this train, as we now see Cameron Dowds leading these hard runners all the way through this first sector. But this is now put him on the back foot compared to Sergio Sobrino. Could we see the Mercedes driver through down that back straight?
Who knows? Could he go through and go on to take the lead, chasing his first win since Spa last season in the F2 Championship? Had his 70th race start 1 week ago at Spa, where he was able to get on the podium. Would have wanted a win, but kind of got stuck in a bit of a train, so he couldn't go on and make those important passes. The pass that could be on ahead for him right now is for the lead, and there we go. Sergio Sobrino, as Max mentioned, does go on to take the lead down the back straight. A nice simple overtake into the braking zone, and he is now P1 on lap number 9.
Yeah, lovely stuff there from Sobrino. Used that DRS perfectly, as we see a move actually in the battle for those hard runners who came into pit lane. That's crucial. It's Hitala who takes that now net race lead away from Nelson Alves, as we see Ryan Wadler as well get past Liam Stevens in the background, as he's on his fresher rubber and Stevens is of course on those tyres. He boxed onto, actually no, he didn't box onto those tyres. He's just been at the back since that lap 1 incident. Now Hitala hits the front of the field, and this will be a bit of an unknown currently in these opening few laps for Alves, wouldn't it, Omi? Where the fact is, he's not been in dirty air running all evening long. Now he finally is. He's going to take a few laps to adjust.
Definitely will. Has been enjoying the clear sight ahead, but now the clear sight belongs to Hitala, who not only is chasing a first win in PCF2 in the 15 starts that he's had prior to today, he's also never stood on the podium as well. Before this season, he'd never stood on the top 5. He's had a 4th and a 4th to start the Season 41 campaign, which has put him 2nd place in the championship. Exactly what we mentioned when it comes to consistency, but he would love a first podium. He would love a first ever win as well, and he's got the chance to try and get that. But yes, he's leading this train, but he knows there will be other contenders coming later on who are on the different strategy. The different strategy last season met in the middle around the circuit for PCF2, and right now it will be an easy switch back as Nelson Alves takes P1 into the braking zone. These two need to keep doing this. They can't afford to fight though, because then that will mean that there will be less of a gap for the drivers of Sabrino, Dowd, Rapasso and all of those drivers in the train to close in.
It certainly does indeed. Of course, Hitala is now just... I think what Alves and Hitala are doing is they're just swapping positions down that back straight because they know they can find so much time by doing so. And it also means that they just don't bottleneck behind one another. You can see actually there, Campbell Adams is under all sorts of pressure from Ranieri, who's currently squabbling for 12th on the road. But this is actually for 4th place in this train. Of course, Adams not really been able to capitalise on his good qualifying, as we see Keaton Luck come back into pit lane potentially for some front wing damage and retire the car. So that's unfortunate for Luck, as we see Modler, of course, now down in 16th trying to work his way up now back to the train at the front of the field. But for Adams, so far it's been a what could have been, but of course still a long old way to go. More than 15 laps left in this race. He's still got time to make his way back up through these drivers in front, but it's going to be difficult to do so when everybody's got DRS.
Yeah, you're going to be having to get yourself into a bit of a feisty battle if you are to try and progress. That is a guarantee, because I'm sure Joe Murphy will want to remain in that position. He's net P3 at the moment. The order goes Alves, then Hietala, then we get to Murphy, then we get to the driver we're on board with at the moment, Adams, and then Ranieri, who had his first start of the season 1 week ago because he missed the season opening round. So Ranieri didn't actually have a great result to start off his campaign in round 2, and he was quite disappointed with it, if anyone did see his social media. But I'm sure everyone around him will be getting him back going for this, and I mean, so far he's putting in a good result. He's in the train, he's in the battle for the net lead at the moment, so he's definitely fighting back, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this one will go. Another driver fighting back, Campbell Adams, who we mentioned was a bit more on the back foot. Well, he's getting on with it, he's setting the fastest lap, just making his intentions clear that he is here to fight.
Yeah, he certainly is indeed. He's here to fight. He's potentially looking to swing back at things as we now make our way through that first sector. And of course, these guys all hunting down that pack who are still yet to hit, expecting them in within the next laps. Those hard runners to come in for a set of the medium compound of tyres, with Sabrino leading that train. And I think we've hit that stalemate once more in both trains, actually, where everyone's comfortable where they are. Of course, you've got potentially Leeds and Imtiaz looking to make some moves further up. I say that, Hitala's now got through on Nelson Alves. But just if you're the man in second here as well, Omi, you got to time things right. And if you're just a tenth or two shy heading into that back straight and opening the DRS, you're not going to be able to get that switch done. And that's crucial time. You could be hemorrhaging down that back straight, and a few extra attempts that when these guys come into pit in front of you could crucially help the likes of Sabrino and Dowds.
It definitely could. So excited to see how this one's going to play out. Stick with this one. We are in this little lull period, but as we've mentioned, the two strategies will eventually clash. It depends to what extent they do, but they will eventually clash in some way, and it will definitely affect those drivers who are at the bottom of this train. In last season, as I mentioned, it went down all the way till the final corner of the race in terms of drivers who went for that medium to hard compared to the hard to medium. So it could definitely be a similar situation. It could definitely be a similar case. And they've not only got to just push on and arrive to this train, they've got to individually pass all of these drivers and cars, which is easier said than done. So they've still got to make those overtakes on the circuit. And also, Hietala and Alves, they've been working together. They've been passing lap after lap after lap. They're not allowing or giving any opportunities to those drivers. They're making sure that they lose as less time as possible and keep themselves in contention. Of course, when it comes to the last lap at this part of the circuit, they'll battle as much as they want, as hard as they can to get a victory. But until then, they will keep it all nice and smooth and make sure we don't bring in outside extra contenders in this battle.
Yeah, they certainly will. They'll just really be focusing on allowing themselves to get these swaps done, allowing themselves to just keep, of course, these tyres in a good condition and their batteries to stay rather full. And they're all just looking at the threat that could be looming next laps when the drivers come into pit lane for those mediums. And, of course, start to chase down these hard runners. The hunters will become the hunted. And they're just making sure they don't defend, lose too much time. Because if you start to squabble, if you don't have that sense, whereas if Alves decides to start defending all of a sudden, you're losing crucial time. And that could be the difference between, of course, these drivers on the mediums getting past you or not. And we've actually seen Joe Murphy at the start of this first sector drop out of a second. He's teetering on the edge or potentially losing DRS to Hitala and Alves. If you are this top two in the train here, Omi, you'll be wanting that to happen because you could start to stretch your legs a little bit more. And the medium runners have a bit of a tougher time. But Murphy has fought his way back into it. But certainly, jeopardy could be on the cards for the Alpine.
It really, really could. And great to have Joe Murphy with us. I think one of the reasons why he's here is due to that performance that he had in Japan last season. Saving his F2 time with us instead of being demoted to F3. Saving his career a little bit, I think it is fair to say in terms of staying here. Because, I mean, look at this. Full time, and he's been performing. Great to see as well in what is his second season in F2, in PSGL, in general as well. Came in as a rookie driver at the start of the game cycle. Having a little bit of a challenge in terms of just trying to stay in this DRS, as you mentioned, Max. But he's just about doing it. And, I mean, who knows? If he can sit back, wait for the opportunity, then there definitely could be something on the cards. But he's got to make sure that he doesn't drop outside the 1 second and has to also assess the gap behind to Campbell Adams. If it's 7/10 like it is right now, then he's still at this fine range. But if it does start getting to those 4, 3 or 2/10 or any closer and he's already alongside, then definitely some concerns and definitely some pace needs to be brought up by Murphy.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I think seeing himself drop out of that second has just given him that that little wind and that second coming of speed, and potentially just that little hit to the head of saying, yeah, I need to speed this one up here and close in a little bit more. I say that, he's just going onto that edge once more. 8 attempts is the gap between Hitala and Murphy at the front of the field. It's still Sabrino holding this pack quite nicely. Of course, just now all focusing on taking these tyres as long as they possibly can. Alves is nearly at the back of this train, so it's still going to be a chunky amount of time for Sabrino and Dowds to catch up to those hard runners. But the question is, will those mediums be able to live long enough? And will they have the pace to actually see themselves arrive onto the back of that train for the lead? Will they just fall short when the tyres start to just die off a little bit?
That is exactly the question that we will wait to get answered. Over half race distance complete, and here we go. We have Imtiaz coming in, the first one to blink from that gaggle of drivers who are on that specific strategy. As we see Imtiaz go on to the set of the medium compound of tyres. This is where it'll start to get interesting. This is where it'll start to get tasty, because we're getting into the phase where more drivers will follow suit and come in as well. And the driver you just saw going past was Modler, so that will be the first car. And then you've got, well, a further 9-second gap to try and go and chase down. So Imtiaz, of course, was the driver right at the back of that group. So he's just going different, trying to save the race a little bit, trying to go a bit more early and see what happens, basically.
Yeah, he certainly is. Of course, going to have to do about 13 laps on those tyres. A little bit longer than probably what he would have hoped. But it's his only resort on this strategy and just try to hold on. The end of this race is Hitala and Alves swap positions once more. Their gap's now 5 seconds to Isaac Fleet. So if you are Isaac Lee, you'll be coming out around about where Ryan Modler is on the road. But actually, it isn't as big as a gap as I once thought to the likes of Itala when Sabrino comes into pit lane. As does any of those front runners come into pit lane this time around? Yes, we do. We see Gregory Prajibul now come into the pits off those hard sides. Same with Conrad Bohm. They have triggered the gun now. Where are they going to come out in relation to, of course, crucially, I think here it's Ryan Modler. As are they going to come out ahead, or are they just going to be a little bit behind?
Yep, that's the question. Back into the fast lane for the McLaren man. Right now, Modler making his way round the final corner, and it looks like as we get to the end of the pit lane, the Ferrari will be getting closer and closer, but just ahead is going to be Gregory and Conrad Bohm. Now, the tyres are fired up for Ryan Modler, so can he use that to his advantage through the opening sector specifically to try and go for a little bit of an attack? It looks like he still has a bit to close in, so I don't think there'll be a switch in position between those two drivers as well. So now the medium runners have to go straight out on the charge, on the attack, and see what happens in this race.
They certainly do. I mean, look at the gap Ray Imtiaz has been able to just bring down to Ryan Modler. That was about 5 seconds when he came out of pit lane. It's now 2.1. So those mediums certainly do work wonders when they come out of that pit box. And he is just ever so more, bringing that gap down and down and down. Prajibul was about 8 seconds behind by the time he came out of pit lane. It's still 8 seconds for now, but we'll see as he makes his way through that final sector. Arguably the sector on this circuit we can find the most time with fresher tyres, just due to how many traction points there really are, especially heading out of 15 as we see now drivers into pit lane. It's Luca Rapassa from the front of the field. The Dutchman does come into the pits, but everybody else still staying up for one more.
Yep, that is the case at the moment. So Rapassa, championship leader, dives it into the pit lane on go. The medium compound of tyres as he now looks to rejoin the road as well. Here he is in the pit lane, making his way to the end of the fast lane, and as Imtiaz sets the fastest lap at the moment in time, there goes Gregory, there goes Bohm, and Rapassa is able to just slot in behind at the moment as he now joins them in the chase of those hard runners. 6.5 seconds is now the gap between Gregory and Tudor Pressacam.
Yep, it certainly is indeed. So he's found about 2 seconds over the course of that previous lap. And that will keep going for about 2 seconds a lap for at least the next couple of laps. So by the time they reach that period where those tyres start to drop off, they'll be at the back of Tudor as we see a switch actually in front of the field between Dowds and Sabrino. Same with Alves on to Tony Hitala as they now make their moves to hit the front of their respective packs, as we also see, I think, Rapassa going for a move on Conrad Bohm. Yes, it is. He looks to the inside line of the kick Sauber, and the Dutchman makes his way up into that 13th place. Ray Imtiaz able to get past Ryan Modler as well in the background, as that's a purple middle sector for Luca Rapassa. He's absolutely flying here. Same with Prajibul, who's brought that gap down now to 5 seconds to him and Preskin, as we see Dowds into pit lane, but once again, Sabrino staying out for another.
Sabrino goes on, and he'll be joined by Isaac Leet as they make their way through then on the circuit. Isaac Lee actually comes into the pit lane, I should say, rather. So he's going to make his way in. It was Alves going round once again with that 6-second gap now to Sabrino out there on the circuit. But of course, Sabrino still needs to dive it into the pit lane. So the net race lead goes down from 2nd place onwards. Here is where Dowds has rejoined. So about a second. So he's now ahead, actually, as the timing board updates. So it is Dowds who finds himself in 11th.
I think Rapassa's just had the screen freeze.
He has.
Rapassa was behind Prajibul by only a couple tenths of a second, and now he's just come out right behind Larry Tulkey. So I think some technical issues there. Drama for the Dutchman, the Red Bull man, the man leading the championship as well. Some technical mishaps putting him to the back of this field, and that's going to put the fire in his belly. That's going to fire him up. I think we're going to see an angry Luca Rapassa for the rest of this race. But unfortunately for him, all that hard work he's just done has now unravelled, and Gregory's now got a 2-second gap to the rest of the medium runners.
Absolutely, he does indeed at the moment. and you don't want an angry Luca Rapassa coming to the back of you as well. I'll tell you that much. Our viewers who watched last season at Budapest will know it was a race he was leading. It was a race that was going well. It was a race where he was on his way to win. Sabrino comes in, but Rapassa had problems. Then he went on the attack. Then there was contact once. Then there was contact twice, and it ended in a retirement that day for Rapassa. But I think you get the gist of how he can go on the attack, how he is going to be sending some lunges, taking a little bit more risks as well as he tries to find his way through into the points. By the way, hards versus mediums, 3 seconds is now the gap between Presakan and Gregory at the moment. So it's all beginning to close in, and this race is about to get interesting.
It certainly is indeed. Of course, Sabrino has come out behind about 2 seconds of Luca Rapassa. And Cameron Dowds is all over the back of Conrad Bohm. 2.3 is now that gap between Przeeble and Presakan. And of course, once they catch up to the back of that train, they are in contention for that race victory. When we cross the line, it'll be 8 laps to go here in the Lone Star State. All is shaping up. It's still at that slow burn point. We are slowly burning up to that crescendo, that climax of this race, as we now see Dowds make his way through on Conrad Bohm for second place in this medium runner train. If he's able to find that pace he just found to the back of Conrad Bohm, he'll be on the back of Przeeble probably within the next couple of laps. This is really all boiling down. This pressure point is starting to build up as Laurie Tulke sent that one to the inside of Conrad Bohm. A beautiful move from the Alpine as Ranieri gets his move done through the triple right-hander on Campbell Adams, who's fallen even further back. But a Ferrari goes wide, comes back onto the circuit, nearly sideswipes Campbell Adams. And the Aston Martin now down to 5th.
That would have been wild stuff round the final part of the lap. Absolutely incredible scenes as we're still side by side. We're still banging wheels. I told you about Luca Rapassa's charge, and here we go. Immediately getting those elbows out as we head into the first turn, making sure that he gives that little squeeze, making sure that he gets to the apex first on the exit there. And he has moved up now to 11th place. He's cleared Conrad Bohm, and next up will be Laurie Tulke. That will be the points that Rapassa now will be trying to get himself into. Out of all running drivers now, no one finds themselves with a penalty in this race. So, as it stands, it's just going to be a fight all the way till the finish, no in-game penalties, which is quite good to see. We want it all decided out there on the racetrack. And now, here we go. Gregory is on the back of two-door Presakan. Przeeble has got the opportunity to try and make the move. The gap is closing in 2/10, half a tenth even now, and he's also moving his way by. So moving his way by into the braking zone, he goes, and further up the road, Leo Lund is also trying to attack Campbell Adams at the same time, trying to dance around the outside. Bit of contact made between the two of them. He's still got the inside line, getting the squeeze by Campbell Adams, and that was a decisive move to take P5. They nearly made contact once and then twice, and now they get away with it. Leo Lund up to P5.
Yeah, but this has now just invited his teammate Gregory Przeeble now into the action. Is he going to potentially make his way past the pair before the end of the next? That will go on board of Prescott, as he'll have front row seats to this battle. Get your popcorn out for the Red Bull driver as he now sees himself head up into turn 1 behind Przeeble. Is he going to look for the move? Actually, he's going to go to the outside as Amber Adams defended the inside, and here comes Cameron Dowds now to the inside of the Red Bull. They're 2 by 2 down the hill. It is going to be Prescott who drops behind Cameron Dowds, and Campbell Adams falls behind Gregory Przeeble as he now moves himself up into that top 6, and Leo Lund will be next on his list. And surely the McLarens won't fight too aggressively, because I think Lund knows that it'll be better just to minimise the time loss, especially to Ranieri in front, then squabble with his teammate, and we'll see surely Przeeble through down into turn 12.
Yep, that will definitely be the case, because he's going to get such a good exit out of turn number 11. Sergio Sabrino's made a move that has passed Conrad Bohm, an easy switch in the battle of 12th and 13th. But we're of course focusing on this battle that is currently going on at the moment in time. Cameron Dowds trying to be the next driver to get through on Campbell Adams. At the same time, Tulke gets past Presakan as well, or at least attempts to. They were momentarily side by side. Now on the exit it is the position gained for Tulki, and Rapasa is going to also try and make that overtake very, very quickly. Bit of a twitch there for Tulki as he tried to fight back. Meanwhile, the Red Bulls wheel to wheel, and there is Rapasa. P10 now on the circuit in the point, and Pressacan has now also got to worry about Sergio Sabrino, who's going to try and make the move, and it looks like he's trying to do so into turn number 19, and that was Pressacan, who's actually going to find himself behind. Campbell Adams gets a 3-second time penalty.
He does indeed, and it's all really now starting to kick off here as the medium runners are now trying to resurge themselves up through the field. And here comes Larry Tulki to the inside of Campbell Adams. He gets the move done late on the brakes. The purchase, the better grip, just allows those medium runners to see themselves through under braking. And that's now put another car between Tulki and Luca Rapasa. Progible's not been able to make his way through on his teammates just yet, who is slowly bleeding time to Ranieri and co. So it's still a long, hard fought battle to go. 6 laps remaining in this Texas Grand Prix, and as we head down the hill into turn 11, it just seems potentially Progible's tyres have slowly started to hit that cliff, and he's got a hard charging Cameron Dowd behind him who look to make pay on the McLaren driver in front. DRS will be open as we now head down this back straight. Are we going to see Progible get close enough to look to the inside line? No, he's just going to sit behind for now, but we are going to see Luca Rapasa get close enough for a move onto Campbell Adams as he makes his way up into 9th, and we now have this train of cars stuck behind Leo Lund. And I think the more Lund is able to hold on to his position and stay in that DRS of Ranieri, as there's doubts now to the inside of Progible, using potentially a little bit of just complacency from the McLaren to try and get the lunge to the inside, not able to do so. And Dowd is looking very racy indeed, and he knows he needs to get by ASAP.
Yeah, absolutely. He does so indeed as we make our way round the final corner out there on the circuit then, and make our way down towards the braking zone of turn number 1. It is starting to get quite feisty out there on the circuit. Another move incoming. This time it's Dowds getting through, and he is able to clear Gregory, so that's an important move. Dowds finds his way by, so Gregory couldn't make the move on Lund. Dowds is now the driver to attack on the medium compound of Tyre.
He certainly is indeed, and Cameron Dowd is now the one leading this medium tyre charge throughout this field.
Rain.
And oh yes, it started to rain. This is crucial moments for the Grand Prix. Will it get wet enough for those intermediates who will elect to potentially stay out onto those mediums if it does get to that stage? As we see Sabrino now pass Luca Rapasa, that is crucial for your championship leader. He's now dropped behind, of course, the man currently 9th now, but it still could fight back into this next left-hander. He's not going to be close enough, I don't think, but now this rain has started to fall. Drivers potentially get a little bit more hesitant on the power. Their confidence somewhat dips ever so slightly, not knowing what the car will do, as now Leet and also Bones squabble, but we're going to see Dowds try to go around the outside of Leo Lund, but not able to get that move done once again. The Swede versus the young Scot, and so far for Dowds, he's not able to make his way through, but this rain seems to be coming down quite heavily. Could we see Inters?
Don't go anywhere, it is all to play for. We thought this was going to be a thrilling finish anyway. Throw in the rain and throw in the possible chance of, as Max mentions, could we need the Inters? Is DRS, well, you would assume, is going to get disabled soon if this rain continues. So what does Hietala do? Does he try and make the move? Also, the medium runners, they aren't being able to make the progress in time, as we have a few drivers coming into the pit lane. I can imagine those drivers who are lower down are going to try and possibly gamble this as the rain continues to come down around this Kota circuit. There we go, Bohm in for Inters, Imtiaz in for Inters. Such an important part of the Grand Prix. We're in the final stages. What do the drivers do from here?
That is certainly the question. What do you do in a scenario like this, especially if you're someone leading this Grand Prix? Do you stay out? Do you take that risk? Or do you come into pit lane? At the moment, it does seem like I think those slicks are just about quicker for now, as we see Sabrino versus Tulki on the exit of turn 11. The DRS is now open for both cars as they charge their way down into turn 12. It's Sabrino on the inside, Tulki on the outside. Surely the Mercedes will be stronger on the brakes, and he is as he makes his way up into that 8th place. But Tulki will try to fight this one back, but not to be able to do so just yet, as we're about to start 3 laps to go here, and currently for Conrad Bohm, he has found some slight time potentially onto Ryan Wadler, but it's not going to be enough. So they need this rain, especially of Bowman Intiaz, to start really chucking it down. They need monsoon conditions in these final few laps of this race to dying embers if they want any chance of trying to claw their way back through.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're hoping for. That's exactly what we need, what they need as well. We will take any form of entertainment, and right now that's what these drivers are delivering out there on the circuit. Conrad Bohm gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting as well, so track limits for him. Meanwhile, Rapace is making a move further back, and he's taking 9th position, or at least trying to. Tulki trying to continue this and make it a battle into the S section, but Rapace is the one who has to yield, who has to go back to the wheel tracks, trying to make 1 point into 2 point by the end of this race. As Max mentioned, 3 laps to go, including this one. Looks like Bowman's just come in to retire. I think he's realised that the inters aren't giving him the grip. It's not raining enough out there for those intermediate compound of tyres. Imtiaz continues on.
Yeah, if you're someone who was down there and potentially not scoring points anyway, it was certainly worth the risk. It was worth the gamble, because you never know what could have happened over the course of the next few laps, but I just don't think it is going to be enough for the Inters to come into play. And at the moment, it is seeming like these medium runners, their charge, their fire has been put out. So as we now go back on board with Cameron Dowes behind Leo Lund, it's been beautiful defending from the Swede so far. And he, once again, is able to stay ahead of Cameron Dowes. But as this track gets greasier, the drivers, they start to slide that little bit more. The pressure really begins to build as we're about to start the penultimate lap of this Grand Prix. Nelson Alves currently leads the way still. No driver in the opening 2 rounds of the season have been able to convert from pole position. But so far, the Williams man is staring it directly in the eye. But Will Hitala just brutally denying him in the closing stages. This is what it all has come down to. Wet weather conditions and a very, very tricky thing to judge, especially when it comes to what tyre is better, as we see Sabrina and Prajibul now go side by side into the S's. Who's going to come out the top here? And it's going to be Gregory, who's just able to hold on.
Moment of brinkmanship stuff there. They get away with it as well, and Rapasa looks like could be about to go on the attack, because he was basically pushing, but of course this part of the circuit is back to single file, so he had to back out of it. But he was absolutely nudging Laurie Tulki through, and don't be surprised if an overtake is coming very, very shortly into the braking zone we go. Which way is he going to try and make the move down this back straight? Could be an opportunity. We're on the penultimate lap of the race, all going by quickly, and we've still got a winner to decide. Here is Rapasa as he tries to make the move.
Here he is then, as he's going to look potentially to that inside line, but no, he's just not close enough. For Sabrino once again attacks Prajibul, and he's able to get this move done this time around as we're about to start that final tour here in Texas. It is all really just shaping up to be a dramatic final lap, not only between these medium runners, but also the hard runners at the front of the field. Hitala, Murphy and Alves, who will come out on top in this one, especially for Alves being the first driver into these conditions. He's the one driving into that unknown. We're about to start the final lap now, and it's Alves who currently leads the way with Hitala hot on his heels.
Here we go, on to the final tour around the Circuit of the Americas. Alves chasing a first victory in so long. He hasn't won since the end of season 38. Hitala and Murphy on their way to first ever podiums in PCF2. We are going to reach the 90 milestone I was mentioning in terms of different drivers that we have had on the podium. As it stands, that number will go to 91 thanks to Murphy and Hitala. It has really been the round of some of the newcomers and some of the more recent drivers who've joined us in F2 over the last few seasons, having their opportunity. Alves navigates his way through very nicely indeed at the moment. Now we're heading down to turn number 11, a critical corner in terms of who's going to win this. There's a penalty further back for Tulki. There's a penalty further back for Leet. His teammate right now is pushing on through this critical exit and through the traction zone. It is 0.5 of a second. He'll be getting closer and closer. We've got DRS heading the way of Tony Hitala. He's gonna get the opportunity. 0.3. Can he shake shape for the move and go for a fast victory. Alves defends tight to the inside. It's a Hail Mary attempt at the end of the race from Iatala, who can't quite get through and is shown the curb. And that is Ranieri and Lund now fighting further back. Gregory's had issues. He's dropping down. He's dropping down in a big way. Leo Lund has got a penalty, and Ranieri still getting to the inside line, and it looks like he will retake that position. Lund will try and continue to fight this one. They're battling over 4th and 5th on the circuit. We make our way round the final few corners though, and Nelson Alves, well, it has been a long wait for him, but he will make his way round the final turn, and for the first time since season 38, it is Alves who comes out on top in a PCF2 race. Hiatala and Murphy get their first ever podium in the second tier, and it's Ranieri and Dowds completing our top 5.
What a race that was. And for the first time this season, not only has it been a long wait for Alves, he picks up his first pole position, his first win in 2 seasons. And he's the first driver to pick up a race victory from pole position this season, joined by 2 newcomers to the podium, Hitala and Murphy. And unfortunately, I think there was some drama at the back of the field between Rapassa and Gregory Progibel. And that now means Hitala will take this championship lead away from Rapassa by a total of, if my maths is correct, by 11 points over the Red Bull driver. I think there were potentially some a little bit closer. But crucially for the Dutchman, nearly a full race win swing into, of course, Hitala's favour. It's going to make things ever harder over the course of the rest of this season.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, we were talking about consistency earlier on. I think Hitala showing exactly that across this season as of yet. Not a win, finally a first podium in F2. And, you know, he's basically come into the season and been such a talented driver who's been able to get a pole position this season. He has 3 in total in his career. He's been able to get in the top 5 for the first time. He's got a first podium and, you know, finds himself in the championship lead as well, with results that were 4th and now a 2nd.
Yeah, it's exactly what Hitala needs. It's not about race victories. It's about those big points scores. And actually, with Lund's penalty and also Sabrino finishing in 6th, I do believe that gap will extend to at least 10 points. So he will have a double-digit advantage over the closest car, which I believe will still be Leo Lund. But here are your results, your provisional results from this evening. It's Alves from Hitala, Murphy, Ranieri, Dowd, Sabrino, Lund, Preskun, Tulki and Progibel rounding out your top 10. And it's Rapassa, Leet, Modler, Imtiaz, Stevens, Adams, Bohm, Lutz, Van Zelter and Tom Roberts, who round out your field of Bohm, Leet, Van Zelter and Roberts being your non-finishers for this evening. Well, as we head back over to mine and Omi's beautiful faces, we are now going to see if we can get any drivers in for an interview. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get all 3, knowing it was 2 drivers' first podiums. And for Alves, his first win in oh so long.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm hoping, as you mentioned, that we can get to speak to some of our drivers after that race. And like we did it in the F5 days, interviews are completely yours as well to go and speak with some of our contenders who found themselves on the podium as well. So we've asked the question and we'll see whether anyone wants to come and chat to us about what was such a long race. And it's always great to get insight from the drivers, because of course we're trying to cover 20 drivers in total on a evening, so we don't always get to notice and see every single phase of their race. So it's always great to hear and speak to some of those drivers at the front of the field and how they actually got there as well.
Yes, it certainly is nice to hear from them, because of course, as you mentioned, sometimes, especially if someone's dominating out in front, you don't know exactly how they are going to be and how they are, of course, how their races really have been from their perspective, because we haven't seen them much. But I think we are going to get a interview from Nelson Alves. I'm just quickly replying to a message to hopefully see if he is going to make it. And he's actually, I'm just seeing in the chat, he did this race on 2 hours of sleep. So maybe if he does that a bit more, he'll win the rest of the season. I guess we'll never. But yeah, it was certainly just a spectacular race. I think the rain just added that bit more jeopardy to it, and it meant that the drivers were a lot more, they were challenged, and it meant that those medium runners, their charge was potentially halted because they were pretty much at the stage on tyres like those hard runners, so it was difficult to get that extra purchase from.
Yeah, and I mean, that's enough from us. Should we actually go and hear from some of our drivers? Because we've got them in the waiting room as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they have to say.
Certainly is, as we head over to the interview screen now. And we shall hear from first, Raniel and Giovanni from F3 are in the waiting room. But we'll just choose Hitala, the man who finished second in this race. His first podium in his F2 career. What he has. Hello, Tony. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
First of all, congratulations on your first podium in F2. Just talk us through that race. How was it from your perspective?
Well, pretty boring, I'd say. It was pretty straightforward. I was just sitting behind Nelson the entire race, just in the DRS and chilling for both of the stints. And well, it got a bit exciting when the rain came on, like lap 22 or lap 23, but didn't end up going into the inter. So, and on the last lap, I mean, maybe I should have risked it a bit and gone up the inside, but I really didn't want to risk anything. I was P2 already, so I'm leading a championship now as well, so I really didn't want to risk anything.
Championship in your mind. Said about the rain coming down as well. How difficult was it to get some grip out there, especially after a few laps of that rain? Was it quite treacherous out there?
Not really. I mean, it was a bit sketchy on the final 2 laps, but I think I survived pretty well. Not really that many mistakes, so it was good.
Of course, you now take the championship as well, as you mentioned. Is that just going to be your focus for the rest of the season? Is just not too many risks, just get those points in, just be consistent, be there, and try and at least get a top 5 every race this season?
Well, I mean, of course there's a chance for the championship. I'm not really thinking about it. Like, I'm not really giving myself too much pressure. I'm just going race by race and try and be up there in top 5 in qualifying, and qualifying is really important on this game. So.
One last question, of course. After the break, we head. I can get the calendar up for myself. After the break week, we head to Monaco. Certainly qualifying going to be key around there. First of all, are you going to be racing in second? Are you confident around Monaco, or is it a bit of a dodgy track for you?
Yes, I'm going to be racing, and I don't really know. I don't think I've done a single lap of Monaco this game, maybe a few, but I need to practice and see how it goes.
Hopefully it goes well and we see you back on the podium. And actually, one more quickly, Tony, how does it feel to get your first podium in it?
It feels great. I wasn't really expecting the season to be like this, the start of the season to be this good, but it's been great. I love it.
Glad to see. You excited about this podium, but thank you for joining us, Tony, and for your overview of that race. And yeah, hopefully the rest of the season bodes you well, and we see you here a lot more in the comms box.
Yeah, thank you.
Right then, that was your man who finished second place in that race. Next, I'll hear from the man who picks up his first race victory in 2 seasons, Nelson Alves. Bring him in now to hear. Hello, Nelson. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
First of all, congratulations on your first race victory in 2 seasons. So it's been quite a while. But first of all, how are you feeling, and talk us through the race?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, finally it's a huge relief for me. It's been a rough time lately for me in this game. I've been struggling a lot for pace at the start of the game, but recently I've been feeling quick. I think it's the quickest I've been in my life, and I've just been super unlucky, in my opinion, in all the races I've done. So to get pole position today, my first ever in F2 as well, and to get the win, very very happy. Couldn't be happier with the performance.
Yeah, with that, of course, I'm the first driver this season as well to convert pole position into race victory. How does that feel as well, being the first of this?
Yeah, I guess it's a good start to have, but now I think it's time to do it multiple times and hopefully win the championship. That is my main goal.
Yeah, that's got to be indeed. And of course, you really are, especially from this race, showing yourself as a real front-running contender. And of course, we head to Monaco next time out. Just how are you feeling around there if you are racing? Reckon you'll be strong around there?
Honestly, no clue. It's impossible to predict. Monaco is one of those tracks that is different to the whole rest of the game. So I mean, 2 weeks, I guess, more time to prepare, but I'll see. I'll give my best as always and try to get some good points and keep this momentum going.
Yeah, hopefully. And we asked Tony how that grip felt when the rain started to come down. Just how difficult was it to find any sort of purchase out there from the tyre? Was it quite difficult to be able to get the power down, or was you all right and coping with it?
Yeah, I think I coped with it pretty well, but especially in the last 3-4 laps, I think also with the tire wear above 60% and rain intensifying, I think it was very tricky. And then you have to find the right balance between pushing and being on track, because we are fighting for the win and also don't get any warnings or make any stupid mistakes. So yeah, very 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 challenging.
It certainly seemed so indeed. But we'll let you get on, Nelson, and celebrate that race victory. But yeah, congratulations, and hopefully we see you back here throughout the remainder of the season.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys, and have a good evening.
Right then, Omi, that is the thoughts of the two drivers podium in this race. We are not going to hear from Joe Murphy. Over to and Omi now. And yeah, it was quite an interesting race. Of course, the drivers seeming quite happy with their performances. Hitala knowing that, of course, being in this position in the championship, didn't really want to risk an incident too much, so he's already got the championship on his mind. And it seems like Nelson, he's very confident in himself. He's got a big bunch of self-belief, and he could potentially succeed quite well.
It's very rare that we get to basically have a happy podium. So all the drivers on the podium happy. Of course, there'll be a little bit of annoyance by Hitala, just a little bit as he goes to bed, that he couldn't quite get the win as well, but he gave it his all. But yeah, overall, it is celebration that he's been able to get a podium, and as he mentioned, that wasn't the expectation heading into this season in terms of the performances that he's doing and in terms of leading the championship. Alves getting a first pole in PCF2, as I mentioned, today was his 40th race start, so for a driver to have that many starts, for a driver to have many podiums, 2 wins, which of course have become 3 now, and to not have got pole, qualifying has always been a little bit of that weak point, so to finally get that as well means a lot to Alves. And I know we didn't get to hear from Murphy, but I can very much assure you that it would have been similar to what Hitala had to say in terms of, I don't think that he would have been expecting it. A reserve driver last season, basically fighting for his PCF2 career. If you go back to the Japan broadcast, we literally did a whole pre-show and talked about it in detail. He got such a great result, booked himself a full-time seat for this season, and now has got a podium. So I can very much assure you, even though we didn't hear from him, that he'll be absolutely delighted with that, and great to see Murphy also getting that podium. So yeah, a very happy top 3, which is a very rare occurrence for PSGL PCF2.
It certainly is, and it just shows that, of course, these drivers know they got to take their chances now before it's too late. You could go from a season here in F2, or even a couple seasons in F2, and then all of a sudden, either an update on the game when it comes to the physics engine, or even just a whole new game, you could see yourself just drop entirely in pace. It's happened to many drivers. it's of course what potentially cost them, of course, their chances, and they didn't take them well enough. And I think that's why Hitala was very much on about how his time is now. He needs to think about the championship in terms of some overtaking moves, and he can't risk, of course, waiting another season. It's just how, of course, these championship competition ebbs and flows. All it takes is a newcomer one season, and you're not going to get that opportunity again. So, yeah, Murphy set himself up nicely with that reserve role. And then, again, with Hitala picking up that first podium, Alves taking that pole position when he could. You need to take those chances. You need to be clinical. And that's what makes a champion. Being clinical and taking those chances when they set themselves up, just like we saw from Hitala with Rapasa today.
Yeah, you've got to take those chances. You've got to be consistent. And that is exactly what Hitala's done. He put himself second place in the standings with 2 fourth places to start the season. Has got a podium, has got second, and now leads the championship with a good buffer to say that we are in round number 3, to say that we're heading into a break. Remember, we're heading into a break. We're not here for a week. So, not only is that the championship lead by a good distance by this point, but with a break, that is a good chunk of time to be happy. He goes into the break happy and ready for Monaco, ready for a little sprint. We'll have Monaco, Austria, Canada, Britain, and Mexico, basically as a whole gaggle before we head over for another break as well for Christmas and New Year's, and then another sprint all the way till the end of the season with 3 rounds at Jeddah, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi. So it means that actually Hitala set himself up quite well. So he has a lot of confidence heading into Monaco, and if there is a circuit you need some confidence heading into, Monaco is one of them.
It certainly is, and Rapasa will be on the back foot into that one. Talking about that calendar, we'll bring it on screen now, so you guys at home can visualize what it does look like and see the dates. Of course, next week we do have that week off. Everybody will be probably practicing for Monaco because it's such a difficult circuit, but it's just a week for them to digest, maybe reflect on the opening 3 rounds, hit the ground running for the next 5, which Omi did mention: Monaco, Austria, Canada, Britain, and then we'll have a race at Mexico on the PC side before the Christmas and New Year break. Before we then head over to Mexico for PlayStation when we come back, that'll be the first race of the new year. And the first race for PC of the new year will be Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Then we head to Brazil, Abu Dhabi, round off the season. Such a strong calendar here, Omi, that it certainly could all go down to the wire. Abu Dhabi does beckon, but if Hitala keeps on performances like this, I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to maybe wrap it up a little bit early.
Wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. But this season, we had a few names who could have been contenders for the title, and other drivers have come in and been like, well, I'm here. I'm a contender this season. I want to win season 41. So we are so well poised for a great campaign as well. It has been a great start to the season with the first 3 rounds as well. We've all had plenty of fun, and we've had some great races that have gone the distance. After a record-breaking season last season with Angelo Di Ortenzio getting to the most wins, getting to the most pole positions as well, and basically becoming the most dominant champion of PCF2 history and becoming the first 2-time PCF2 champion as well. After that dominant season, we've now headed into an unpredictable one where it is wide open, where everyone had to watch Angelo do the winning last season, and now it is their turn, and they're all having their turn at once, but only one can be champion by the end of the season.
It certainly is. Their time is now. So, anyway, let's head into the break week with that brilliant Texas race. What a performance that was from Nelson Alves to take his first victory in 2 seasons. And congratulations to Murphy and Hitala on their first podiums, and Latter for taking championship lead. But that is going to be all from us. Make sure you do join us in 2 weeks' time for our trip to the Principality. Potentially a strong race on the cards. Of course, 2 stops are mandatory around Monaco. Not your usual 1-stop strategy. Be the key centerfold. It should be Corey and Omi in Monaco. Make sure you join me and Myth in F3 as well, just before the F2 Premium as well. Thank you all very much for watching. This would not be possible without you guys at home. Stay safe, stay well, and we shall see you in it. Thank you, and